another week where I'm not watching football. I miss it greatly. I really do. It's really changed my weekends. Maybe, like I say, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And everything happens for a reason.
Ladies and gentlemen, the colors for this evening's game will be displayed by members of the USS Cole, the U.S. Marine Corps, the New York, New Jersey Port Authority, and the New York City Police and Fire Departments. The Star-Spangled Banner will be signed for the hearing impaired by New Orleans police officer Joe Narcisse. And now, to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem by the Boston Pops under the direction of Keith Lockhart and the biggest selling female recording artist in history, Mariah Carey.
So early we have at the twilight last.
It's good for me to not watch football and have my weekends revolve around the NFL. But with that said, I think the thing that's so rough about it is why it's like a feminine movement. You know, when you watch men, or not men and women, husband and wife argue about a subject in a typical setting, the wife is telling the husband how she feels, right? And all of us go through it. The man typically and especially when you're young, you hear the problem 2 seconds into it, the first thing you want to do is solve the problem, right? You don't want to hear too much before you're thinking, you're telling me this because you need to solve it. And the woman's not telling you this because she wants you to solve it. She wants you to just hear her feelings. And I think Hillary Clinton actually became a prophet when she said the energy for 2016 or whatever it is, when she came out and said, after she lost the election, she said the energy in the air is female. Because that's what Black Lives Matter is. That's what all of this is. And they took the most interracial, biracial sport. Basketball is all black. Hockey's pretty much all white. But you took the one that has the best balance, and then you attack that, and it's masculine. It's a masculine sport. And then you make it feminine. They're holding hands and locking arms and everything else. And this is the deal. The deal is y'all don't want to deal with the problem. You get angry, and just like an argument with your wife, between husband and wife. The more you try to short circuit hearing how she feels to hurry up and get to fixing the solution, the angrier she gets. And the more she tells you how she feels, the more you come back as the husband and say you tend to focus. And a wise man, after so many years of marriage, just learns, don't try to fix it, just listen. And then way after a while, you may or will get around to fixing it. But just because she's telling you her problems doesn't mean she wants you to hurry up and fix it. Hard lesson learned. But the thing is, the same thing with this Black Lives Matter, the same thing with this this NFL thing. We're being feminized, and it's not that we want to go in the hood and actually fix the problem. We just want the whole world to look at us and say, acknowledge our feelings. Acknowledge our feelings. You know, that's the whole thing. Just acknowledge our feelings. Nobody wants to actually go in the hood and do something. All the money y'all make, you don't want to go in the hood and do something. You want to sit up and hold the fist. And you ask yourself, and I ask myself, how come basketball is like 80% black? It's a lot of more. It's predominantly, it's a black thing, right? If you want to go there, how come they don't kneel? Well, that's because they actually have it in their rules that they can't do that. You're gonna stand like you're gonna stand like you got some sense. Put your hand. You're gonna stand for the national anthem, and the national anthem's gonna be played. You're gonna stand, or you can lose your job. My question, if it's that serious, LeBron James and all them guys, why don't you just lose your job? Just quit and lose your job. If it's that serious, lose your job.
When you think about what Colin has did, right? The only thing that I think about the most is Muhammad Ali, Jim Browns, all of these guys. If you come out with this type of stand, the most important thing next is a solution. You must have a solution. Yes. Because if you don't have a solution, then we're just protesting for nothing, right?
Yep.
So when Colin comes out and does what he does, if Colin calls, Shay, and you know this, if Colin calls 50 to 100 guys around the league and say, man, look, this is what I'm standing for, I guarantee you get a lot of them to follow you.
I believe it.
But sometimes when you go by yourself, the thing that happens is nobody understands what the deal is until you start to actually get into it. So now you think about what Roger's stance is right now. Roger has the stance that says, listen, I get it, Colin. A lot of people stand, a lot of players stand for different things, but you got to understand what you're standing for. I don't think it's about the flag per se, right? Because my only advice to Colin Kaepernick is this: listen, I understand what you're trying to do, but understand, take the flag out of it, right? I had uncles, I got brothers who walked out of my house going into the military that said, I will never see you again. To understand that, I will always respect that part of what our patriotism should be. Right? And that's the side that I think if Colin really just steps back, because to effect change, right? To effect true change of what he's trying to say, if you don't have a real solution, if you ain't seen as a true activist to go into these hoods and do these things on a daily basis and not just jump up and just protest off this one thing because you're sick of it. We've been sick of racism for 400 plus years.
But we want our counterparts to acknowledge it and not sweep it under the rug and tell us it's a figment of my imagination and not tell me because we have a black president, everything's okay. And because Michael Jordan is a billionaire, it's okay. Because Oprah are billionaires, and because we see some blacks on...
We're sitting here as men. And me and you, as men, ourselves, not watch nobody else deal with police brutality. I lived it.
Oh, I know.
That ain't Steve Bishotti's fight, what happened to Freddie Gray. That ain't no owner's fight.
Yes, it is though, Ray.
If it is,
this is America.
If it is, then all of our owners should get together and go in these urban neighborhoods and clean it up. Why wouldn't you?
Because, Ray, they don't care because it's an issue.
And I guess the thing is, deep down, for men who solve problems and, what's causing young black men dying in the streets. No one wants to get into what's causing them to even deal with the police in the first place. And all the scenarios from Mike Brown on, what caused them to even have an encounter? I can sit in a room full of 10 black folk, 10 co-workers. How many of y'all were just randomly stopped and beat up by police because you're black? Nobody. So we have to admit there's something in the culture that's part of the component. And I'm just saying to the players, look at the stands. Look at the stands. Look at the fact that it's dwindling down. You're still gonna do it. And I admit that there's got to be an ego component to it, because you're mad at Donald Trump because of what he said, and now it's against Trump. Still, the brothers in the hood are being left. No one wants to deal. Why don't you just listen to my words and do this one thing? Do something. Do something. Do something about the problem. Do something.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars rule the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts where you watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reckless, the bombs bursting in and getting through
must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred.
Coming up, we'll have a very special coin toss ceremony.